Coach Dungy on the Boomer Jacks Bar and Grill Hotline. Good morning, Coach. How have you been?
Hey, good morning. Doing great. Fired up. Trying to digest this season so far, but I think we've got the biggest game of the year coming up on Sunday, so we're excited.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about your prep and your build-up in anticipation of this thing. How big does this game feel?
Well, I get a feeling, Philadelphia is very, very good, but this could be a preview of the NFC Championship game. This could determine who has home field advantage, as we go. So these games are always big. When Dallas plays Philadelphia, hey, if you don't win the game, you got a chance to win the next one. But when it's a non-division game and its opponent like San Francisco, you feel like you've got to win this one because whoever wins is going to have that home field advantage if you meet again in the playoffs.
Coach, does it feel like the Cowboys are the clear underdogs in this matchup?
I think they are simply because it's in San Francisco. Both teams are playing very well on defense. San Francisco maybe a little edge in the running game, but I think people look at, the last two playoff games, San Francisco's won, so they've got the advantage. Dallas has to knock them off the hill. And if I were the Cowboys, that's the approach I would be taking. I've got to go in and knock the heavyweight champ out.
Coach, that was something that your Indianapolis Colts, it felt like, dealt with in terms of the Patriots. That you guys had that same sort of intense rivalry, and it felt like the team that you were chasing. That's where Dallas has been at with San Francisco. That they're just kind of on the chase a little bit, and this feels like a really heavy game this week for the Cowboys in that locker room. Was that a challenge when you guys would go up against New England? Was, hey, we definitely want you guys to be motivated by this team, but don't be distracted by them. Don't let it, get you out of your game. Don't let it get in your head.
Yeah, you just have to play football, but it's always going to be there. And you're right. The same thing happened to us. We lost to them at home. We were at the 1-yard line last play of the game. We didn't score. Well, it seemed like every game after that, because of that, was up in New England. And so you're going and you're not quite getting it done. And finally, in 2005, we went up there and we beat them in New England, and that kind of turned everything around for us. And that's the same thing, I think, for the Cowboys. You played all these games in San Francisco, and the mentality is, you know what, we've got to go out there and beat them, and we can't worry about where the game is or what happened 2 games ago or 3 games ago. This team just has to go in there and play and win. And I'll tell you what, I looked at last year's playoff game in prep for our broadcast, and the Cowboys' defense played unbelievable. San Francisco's defense did too. It was just a couple of mistakes. Cowboys have the ball at 6-6. They're going in at halftime to at least take the lead. There's an interception. Dak throws an interception. Instead of being up 9-6 or 13-6, they're down 9-6 at halftime. And that was a big swing. But other than that, the game was really, really even.
Tony Dungy joining us here on 105 through the Fan. Speaking of Indianapolis, you're a defensive guy. You had a quarterback who loved to score, loved to throw the ball. Coach McCarthy really wanted to, in the offseason, he goes, I want to run the ball, I want to slow it down, I want to rest the defense. What was your philosophy on that, having, such a potent offense, but being a defensive guy and wanting to keep the defense in mind?
Well, you do, and I don't think it's a matter of slowing it down and resting the defense. What it is when you get to big games, when you're playing the 49ers, when you're playing Philadelphia, you aren't just going to go outscore them, and you aren't going to just throw for 400 yards. Defenses are going to be balanced and make you be balanced. So in those big games, you have to be able to run the football. You have to be able to make first downs when you need them in the fourth quarter. So you've got to practice that. You've got to develop that. Our Super Bowl run, we had some high-scoring games, but we had a game in Baltimore. There was no touchdown score. Baltimore had a great defense. They had great pass defense, good pass rushers. We had to run the ball and play defense. We won that game 15-6 with no touchdowns. And that's what you have to have if you're going to win a Super Bowl, because there's going to come a time in the playoffs where you've got to run the ball. And I think that's what Coach McCarthy is trying to develop, that mentality.
I agree with it, Coach. A lot of the new school analytics, it's hard, right? The Cowboys are top of the league offensively. They got all these number 1, number 2 rankings, Kellen Moore, and then McCarthy's like, no, we want to rein it back and get a little bit more conservative with complimentary football. It doesn't land well with a ton of fans.
Well, I don't think it's conservative, and I don't even think it's complimentary football. It's just how do you win games? And there's going to be times in the fourth quarter that you got to keep the ball and you got to keep it on the ground. And hey, you've got 3 downs to make a first down. You don't want to throw it because you don't want to stop the clock. Can you have that mentality? We can run and grind out a first down when we need it. Doesn't matter who the defense – and that's what you're trying to establish. Yeah, there's going to be times when you have to throw. Right after that 15-6 game, we played New England. We got down 21-3. We had to throw to come back and win. So you need that part of it. But what he's trying to develop is whatever we need to win the game, we have to be able to do. And if we need to run 30 times and control the clock because they've got a great pass rush, we've got to be able to do that. If we need to put up 35 points and throw the ball because they can't stop us in the air, we need to be able to do that. Same thing defensively. That would be my thought on the Cowboys in this game. If San Francisco has to throw, they're not going to win this game because Dallas's front will get after them. They've got enough coverage people. So San Francisco's coming in with the mentality, we got to win the line of scrimmage. We got to punch these guys in the face. So this week for the Cowboys, to me, where's our run defense? Do we have the run defense that we've seen in these last couple of weeks, or is it the run defense in Arizona? If that defense shows up, they aren't going to win.
Coach, you came up as a defensive coordinator in an era when the West Coast offense really exploded, and that's something that the Cowboys have gone back to as more of a traditional West Coast offense. For listeners there who are still a little confused by the concepts and the overall philosophy behind a West Coast offense, can you explain what it is, and then also how you, as a defensive coordinator coming up during that time, tried to defend against it?
West Coast offense to me really is rhythm and precision and timing. And it was Joe Montana and Steve Young, and then later on Brett Favre. And yeah, Favre brought some creativity, but I played for Bill Walsh. I played his first year with the 49ers, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, throw, get rid of it. If they cover our receivers, get it to the backs, let them run. We're not taking sacks. We're not having negative plays. And we're going to be so precise that they can't stop us. If they play zone defense, we're going to go 25 for 28. Now, if they play man-to-man, we've got to have that one guy, that CD Lamb, that they can't cover, and then, bam, he's the guy. But if they play zone, it's precision, 85% completions, no penalties, no mistakes to take us back. And it's beautiful when it's going. And I think that's what Coach McCarthy is really getting to this year. We got to get that timing. We've got to throw. We can't wait for big plays. We got to create big plays, maybe with 5-yard passes. A swing pass to Tony Pollard can be a big play. And that's what he's getting across. To me, that was the essence of the West Coast.
Coach, this team is not really throwing the ball downfield all that much. The vertical passing game just isn't there. And what you've seen, are they not trying to do it? And can you win consistently by throwing the ball very, very short? I don't even mean like 10 yards. I mean like 4 or 5 yards upfield. Do they need that vertical passing game?
They'll need it because there'll be times when people say, hey, we're not going to let you sit there and throw these 5-yard passes and keep moving the chains. We're going to clamp down on you. We're going to play man coverage. We're going to tighten up. And then you've got to be able to go. And that's what made the West Coast really, really unstoppable when Jerry Rice got there. They won a Super Bowl with just the precision passing. But then when Rice got there and you tried to clamp down on that, now he could go over the top and make those huge plays. And the Cowboys had that in CeeDee Lamb. But I'll tell you how everybody's playing the Cowboys right now. Let's take away that deep ball. Let's not give them the one-play touchdown. And let's see if Dak can execute and have these 12, 15-play drives. Let's see if they can do it without penalties, without negative plays. And when the Cowboys prove that they can do that consistently, then you're going to see the tighter defense. Then you're going to see the big throws up the field. So I think Coach McCarthy, again, I think he's trying to establish we've got to show that we can have 12-play touchdown drives. And what has happened, if what I've seen, is they've had these drives, they've gotten to the red zone, and they haven't gotten it in. So now everybody's saying, just stop the deep ball. When they get to the 15-yard line, that's when we'll stop them. And that's where the Cowboys have to improve this. When they get their red zone offense going and where they're scoring touchdowns, then you're going to see big plays in the passing game because you'll see the defense play differently.
A tremendous breakdown and preview from Tony Dungy. Sunday night football night in America on the Boomer Jacks Bar and Grill Hotline here on 105.3 The Fan. We heard it was you who called for all the Taylor Swift shots. Is that true?
No, that is absolutely if we never see Taylor Swift again on a football game, I'll be happy. I love her music. My kids love the music. I don't love Taylor Swift with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter of a football game.
Hey, Coach, I was very hopeful and optimistic that this little cute Brock Purdy bubble would burst this year. It has not. Is there a chance of it bursting ever?
I don't think so. Brock Purdy, it reminds me, I was there Joe Montana's rookie year.
Oh, no.
And Steve DeBerg was our quarterback, but you just saw Joe with this coolness, this precision. Didn't have the greatest arm, didn't look like a super athlete, but could just move around enough. But he had a mastery of what Bill was trying to do. And that seems to me where Brock Purdy is. He processes all of Kyle Shanahan's offense. And I'm not going to try to be the star. I'm just going to get the ball to the right people. And he's playing great, and I think he's a perfect fit for what they're doing.
Coach, you had Dwight Freeney. Does Micah remind you of him? Is he, who does Micah remind you of? Is he better than Dwight, in the run game, in the pass rush?
To be honest, he does. He's got that speed of Dwight, but he reminds me of Robert Mathis. Robert was the same way, but he could play a lot of different places, left end, right end, and Robert's motor and his hustle and his drive was just unbelievable. And that, to me, is Micah Parsons. Hey, put me over the center, put me over the guard, put me out wide, drop me. It doesn't matter. I'm going to make plays. And I love his mentality. And I think Coach Quinn has, done a lot with his athleticism. And we had the Giants game, first game of the year, and Coach was telling me, we're going to use him a little differently because of Daniel Jones' running ability. We're going to put him here, here, and here. And that's what I love about Micah. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I'd love to just get out wide and rest the passer, but if you need me to do other things, I can do it to help us win, and that's great.
Coach, how do you stack up San Fran, Dallas, and Philly in the NFC?
I really love Philly's offensive line and defensive line. They have been dominant. I love San Francisco's mentality. They've got this tough guy mentality, and you got to knock us off. They really believe if Brock Purdy hadn't got hurt that they would have won the NFC Championship last year. So I love their mentality. I love Dallas's athleticism and speed. So I think there are three different teams, and they're all kind of fighting for the top guy. And these games, when they play each other, it's not only for standings, but it's also for mentality. And they're clearly the best three in the NFC, and I don't know how to rank them 1, 2, 3 just yet.
Coach, after the first couple weeks, there was chatter that people were like, could this be one of the great defenses of all time for the Cowboys? Micah Parsons routinely has said, we want to be the 2000 Ravens, we want to be the 02 Bucks. Like, these are the teams that he wants to be in the conversation with. Then they lose Diggs, and they have a poor performance in week 3 after that. They bounced back last week, but with Diggs down now, do you think their corners are good enough and this defense is good enough to still potentially tap into one of the better defenses we've seen in the last decade or two?
Losing Diggs is a big blow because of what he brings and the takeaways and just the swagger. But to me, whether this defense is going to go down as one of the greats of all time is just one thing. It's run defense. And we'll see a little bit of that Sunday. We'll see where they are. San Francisco is going to try to run the ball because if you get into just a passing game against Dallas, you got your hands full. You better have 5 great pass protectors. You better have guys who can get open quickly. But if you can do what Arizona did and pound it a little bit and keep them off balance and then throw when they think we're going to run, that's the way to handle this defense. I don't know if that was just an off game, if they just took Arizona a little bit lightly. But if they bring their run defense, and in the playoff game they did. San Francisco really, they ran okay, but they held them down enough. They got after Purdy. They got him off his spot. They distracted him. That, to me, is going to be the key, how good this run defense plays. If they play, use their speed, and dominate the line of scrimmage, they can be as good as anybody we've seen in the last 20 years.
Coach, last thing, this became a huge story after y'all's last broadcast. What was your take on the whole Rodney Harrison, Zach Wilson, Chris Jones interview?
And people miss the point. And if you saw the whole interview, then you would get the point. Rodney said, "Oh, come on, Chris. What you saw, this Zach Wilson was garbage." And what he was saying, Chris Jones said, "Well, he's a really tremendous player. He's a special guy, and he did play like that Sunday night, but he hadn't played like that leading up to it." And what Rodney was asking, was this a different guy? What happened? And that's what he was trying to get at. Not disparaging Zach Wilson, not saying he couldn't do it, saying he hadn't done it up to that point, and he did look special Sunday night. So what was the difference? People, you say things, people take them out of context, people get all bent out of shape. I know what Rodney meant because it's locker room talk. So I felt bad that people thought he was disparaging Zach Wilson. He really wasn't.
Coach, this was so good. Thank you so much for the X's and O's breakdowns, the preview. Thanks for coming on again, and enjoy this one Sunday night. It was a treat.
Oh, it's going to be great. We're fired up, looking forward to it, and it should be a lot of fun.
Tony Dungy on the Boomer Jacks Bar and Grill Hotline.